What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. We are back with another part 2 because love is in the air and it doesn't matter if you're a superhero or a super villain. Sometimes the connection is just undeniable. Even if, say, I don't know, you're related. Yeah, we'll get to that. So without further ado, I'm your host for today, Taylor McWaters, and here are the top 10 greatest supervillain couples, part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, you know exactly what to do as soon as this video ends. Let's get to it. Kicking off the list at number 10, LOKT and VERITY WILLIS. VERITY WILLIS made her first appearance in LOKT Agent of Asgard issue 2, and she's the daughter of Roger Willis. And at a young age, she swallowed a magical ring that Roger had been given by his father that allows the user to see through any lie. So she swallowed it, and then now it dissolved inside of her. VERITY now possessed the power of the ring, and naturally she grew up thinking that this was a curse. So she locked herself away for most of her life. When she got older, her mother encouraged her to try online dating, just get out there a little bit. And then she encountered the god of mischief himself, Loki. She saw through his disguise as an old man while he was on a mission. She could see through his lies, so he asked her to help him free Sigurd from Asgardia because she could tell which traps were real and which were not. So after this mission, they became closer and closer, basically completing the other's flaws. And then at one point, it even caused Loki to try and become a better person, so not a bad start. One's the god of mischief and one can see through lies. I don't know, opposites do attract, I guess. And before we go on to number 9, if you guys could go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, that would be great because it really does help out the channel. You guys are the best, thank you so much. Now back to some more villain romances. Number 9, Scarlet Witch and Dr. Doom. For this next evil romance, we look over to Avengers: The Children's Crusade miniseries, where we have the young Avengers looking for Wanda because her son Wiccan started experiencing reality-altering powers, so he wanted to check in with Wanda just to make sure, reality itself hasn't collapsed or anything like that. Something I'm sure we're going to see this week in the next episode of WandaVision or something like that. Wiccan's onto something, and I think he's going to be the key to solving it all. I don't know. He's also like the best child actor ever, so he must be doing something crazy. So he found out she was being held at Doom Castle, so after a quick rescue trip, he discovers her and Doom are in matching colors. Interesting. And she's planning on marrying Doom at this point, but she doesn't remember her origin or how she got there. All she knows is that she's in love with Dr. Doom. So Wiccan tries the obvious. He says, you're a Scarlet Witch, you were married to Vision, you had 2 kids, hello. You thought the kids were dead, but they're actually, and before Wiccan can finish telling Wanda they're indeed alive, Doom steps in to shut him up. Could you imagine if they went through the wedding though? I mean, what a sight to see. I kind of love it though. The Avengers: The Children's Crusade issues 1 to 9. Check it out. Number 8, King Shark and Killer Frost. This next one comes from Batman: Assault on Arkham, and the chemistry between these two is actually quite fun. When Killer Frost was airdropped into Gotham, her chute snapped and she fell into Shark King while falling, and his first response was to curl around her protectively. A little protective nook. I like it. Even while traveling through the sewers, he puts her on his shoulders so she doesn't have to be in the gross water. And then when King Shark's fear of heights gets in the way, Killer Frost volunteers to guide him using her eyes so he wouldn't have to look down. They're kind of cute together, not gonna lie. Number 7, Thanos and HELA. In The Unworthy Thor issue 5, we find HELA, mistress of the damned and dear departed, try and retake her kingdom. So she offers Thanos the one thing in the world he desires more than anything: death. Of course. And then the two share a passionate kiss right after. Now at this point, she's lost her throne in hell, and this is her attempts of gaining it back. So Thanos originally had his interest in obtaining the Mjolnir of the ultimate Thor, which ended up in his world after Secret Wars. Now I don't know, Hammer or HELA, both sound pretty lovely to the Mad Titan. Number 6, Vanessa and Wilson Fisk. Vanessa made her first appearance in the Amazing Spider-Man issue 84, and Kingpin is a top-tier villain in both Spider-Man and Daredevil's lives. We're looking now mostly at the relationship that they had in the Netflix Daredevil series. So in this series, Vanessa is played by Alet Zurer, and she isn't a supervillain per se, but she's very much on board with Wilson's ways. I mean, in the first season, she actually helps motivate him to be more of a bad guy, which sounds like the perfect villain counterpart. Hey, I noticed you can be a little bit more evil, so yeah, just like, amp it up, really break some necks. You got it, kill it. And as for Vanessa, she was an art dealer originally, and then when they got married, she found out about his criminal empire, and she didn't run away. No, this didn't scare her. She didn't do anything. She didn't go to the police. No, she stuck with him, and ever since, she went through quite a bit in that relationship, including almost being poisoned. So that's what you get when you date Wilson Fisk. You sometimes get poisoned. Vanessa keeps them in line though emotionally as well, but if you upset Vanessa or hurt her in any way, you better run as fast as you can or swing away as fast as you can and never look back, because Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin, will literally take you out of the picture for good. It's a path I don't want to cross. Number 5, Zod and Ursa. Zod and Ursa are the parents of the Kryptonian that Superman and Lois adopted. See, Ursa was a young commander leading the elite Black Zero unit and made her first comic book appearance in Action Comics 845. Now, General Zod, of course, is Superman's greatest foe ever since Krypton's final days, when he survived the destruction of the planet through the Phantom Zone. See, Jor-El transported Zod, Ursa, and None there, so when Krypton blew up, they were safe. Only Kal-El was left other than those three. Now, during the time in the Phantom Zone, Zod and Ursa discovered part of an old Kryptonian prison floating around. So inside the prison, time passed normally, so Zod and Ursa decided to mate and then raise the kid, soon to be known as Lord Zod. And in the prison, he could age normally. So bam, what do you know? So Lord Zod was a physical tether between the material world and theirs. They created the ultimate key. So Lord Zod was then launched to Earth from the Phantom Zone, and when he arrived, his ship activated a beacon that freed the other Kryptonians. You can conceive a plan or you can conceive a child. Both apparently will work, but always plan to have a child. That's an important rule there, kids. Always plan for that. Number 4, Punch and JEWELEE. The criminal duo made their first appearance in Secret Origins Volume 2, issue 28, and they're not taken seriously by most, but they've been known to be just as unpredictable as the Joker. JEWELEE grew up in Brooklyn with Punch, and they worked as puppeteers at Coney Island during the day, which sounds like a blast, but then at night, the couple moves into the shadows as thieves. They came across a container filled with alien weaponry and used it to create an underground base in Coney Island, and their super criminal career thus began. The pair had once been recruited for a mission with the Suicide Squad, but they lacked focus, probably too in love to concentrate, you know? So some of the alien artifacts that they found were a mind recording device, hypno gems, anti-gravity boots, and sting strings. Sounds like a perfect treasure chest to find in a Legend of Zelda game, or a perfect score for an evil Coney Island couple. Number 3, Venom and Eddie Brock. One of my favorite evil couples ever. They're literally inseparable. But when it comes to the Clintar race and Eddie Brock, well, let's just say they got closer than ever. So, making its debut in Amazing Spider-Man 299, Venom is a symbiote from the Clintar race. And after making its way to Earth, it wound up in the hands of Spider-Man. Now, this didn't last too long because the symbiote found its ideal host, its other half, Eddie Brock. Now, because it had originally bonded with Spider-Man, he basically became another version of that Spider-Man. And Eddie at this point wasn't a big fan of Peter Parker at all. So when the two merged, he gained knowledge of the symbiote's past, being that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And Venom, well, he was all for it. That jealousy and rage made him the perfect Spider-Man villain. Now, I thought Venom was a pretty fun movie, you know, kind of silly, but fun more than anything. And I'm actually really looking forward to Venom Let There Be Carnage. Woody Harrelson's gonna kill it as Carnage. Number 2, Clock King and Disruptor. Angelica Smith, aka Disruptor, was found abandoned as a child and was sent to live in an orphanage, basically making it on her own. Growing up, she always resorted to violence. She didn't get along with the other kids, all because of her inner anger from being left as a child. Really heartbreaking stuff. Now, eventually she wound up in a foster home, but let's just say she didn't see eye to eye with her foster mother, and then she ended up locked in a padded cell. Yeah, it didn't go well at all. After her release, she came into contact with the Clock King, who lied and said she was in fact the daughter of the real Disruptor. And then she joined his Terror Titans, with Clock King giving her a fancy new super suit to go along with it. And finally, number 1, Ultimate Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Yep, we gotta finish with this one because I know it's a little bit of a gross connection. They're still a great power couple, probably one of the most powerful couples ever. Now, I know when it comes to villains, these two aren't the worst of the worst, but in this case, they're siblings and they're together, so, you know, we gotta talk about it. I think we're actually gonna see a version of this play out in WandaVision's final 2 episodes, so I wanted to mention them, especially on a list of great super couples. Yep, they've been a couple once in the Ultimate comics. They're super in love, even though they're super related, and since they were a big deal in the Brotherhood, they were very dedicated to the cause. We first meet the pair in X-Men issue 4, and off the bat, we see Quicksilver defending his sister. When Toad is chewing his food too loud, Quicksilver's like, "Excuse me, my sister is right there, you obnoxious fool." Which, gotta say, great call. Nothing is more annoying than that sound in your ears. Ugh, gross. The Ultimates was based in an alternate universe, so we're looking at this more of a relationship rather than a romance, you know? As hard as it is to forget certain aspects of their relationship. Now, I don't think the two will fall in love or anything like that at all in WandaVision, but with Evan Peters' Quicksilver showing up, I think this is a way that Marvel will show an evil Wanda and Quicksilver working together without having the whole brother stuff make it weird, you know? I mean, they're a great super duo. If Agatha Harkness makes them pair up and go against the good guys, we'll kind of have our first look at an Ultimates type relationship. Maybe then she'll finally get her Scarlet Witch nickname. I mean, it's pretty wacky, but also pretty unforgettable when it comes to super couples ever existing, so of course I had to mention them in this list. And put them number 1, why not? Well guys, there you have it. Which of these supervillain couples are your favorites? Let us us know in the comments down below. I've been your host, Taylor McWaters. You've been you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Top 10 Nerd, and we'll catch you next time.